Hello, I am Richard Stevens, and this is how I use a whiteboard for a customer pitch. So when I'm talking to a customer, the first thing that I usually like to outline is essentially what they're using today. So typically this starts off with storage, and by the way, this is a great way to be able to go ahead and understand what their environment looks like. So maybe we get them to name out EMC or NetApp in the storage area. And then maybe we have a storage area network, right? Fiber channel switch, and it's got to be redundant in that case. And then we have multiple servers in a 3-2-1 architecture or a 3-tier architecture, and all those connectivities are redundant also. So lots of lines in this presentation so far. On top of that, we have a virtualization layer, right? Could be Hyper-V, could be ESX. And on top of that, you finally get to the apps. And I'm just going to draw lowercase a's for the apps here. But effectively, this is a really complicated solution. Now, you can juxtapose this to what the public cloud provides. And this could be Amazon with AWS or Google or whatever it is that they're looking at that point. But the architecture that the public cloud is using is significantly different. It looks nothing like this 3-2-1 architecture. Instead, it looks like this. A rack of servers with networking gear right on top. So this is a simplicity in the design, and it's a simplicity in the look. Now, people utilize that public cloud infrastructure for two reasons, right? Reason number one, it's easy to deploy. So you have the ability to deploy an app extremely quickly without too much muss or fuss. And number two, it's highly scalable and growable, right? So the elasticity is there. Use a common term for the public cloud. Now, more and more enterprise CIOs are looking at the public cloud because of these 2 points. Regardless of the TCO, regardless of what apps should live in the private cloud versus the public cloud, they're kind of focused in on this. And I think that they're missing a couple of points with regards to the benefits of this type of private cloud infrastructure. Specifically, when you have it in your own enterprise data center, you have the ability to go ahead and control security. You have the ability to control TCO. You have the ability to control the ecosystem with regards to the applications that can be used in this type of infrastructure. And at the end of the day, the economics of managing your own infrastructure is much more simple. So what we do at Nutanix is we provide the same easy scalable solution that the public cloud is built off of in your own private data center. So effectively, with a Nutanix solution replacing a 3-tier architecture, we would have potentially racks and racks and racks of servers with a couple of networking switches right on top. So when you juxtapose what this looks like compared to what a Nutanix looks like, you see a dramatic difference, right? Dramatic difference in the complexity of the design, but also a dramatic difference because that complexity shows itself in the implementation. Nutanix is going to be simpler to implement. We can implement a rack of Nutanix systems, in less than half of a day. You can also manage that Nutanix infrastructure in a much easier manner compared to a 3-tier architecture. So effectively with Nutanix, you have compute, you have the hypervisor, and you have storage. And with regards to storage, we can provide storage for virtual machines, we can provide storage for file, we can provide storage for non-virtualized applications, and we can also provide storage for containers. But now when you look at this, and when your executives start to look at this, and you've got an apples to apples comparison in between what you're able to support in the public cloud versus what you're able to support in the private cloud, it makes the decision a little bit more complicated about moving to the public cloud versus the private cloud. effectively, the way that we look at this is that decision should look something like this. Maybe roughly a quarter of your application workloads belong in the public cloud because they need a highly elastic workload where the application usage might go up and down and up and down, but you don't want to necessarily buy enough compute and storage for those high periods. Maybe it's a retail organization and the day after Thanksgiving comes around. That might be an application that deserves to be in the public cloud. Whereas the majority of your applications, that usage, right, is very predictable, right? So that predictable workload is going to go up over time, but it's really easy to manage and really easy to understand and just keep right ahead. Today, you can take the majority of your applications and you can still host them inside of your own private cloud infrastructure. And this is what an enterprise cloud should look like. It's the combination of what you have in the public cloud, also the combination of what you have in your private infrastructure with ties to each. So in summary, what we're looking at with regards to Nutanix is it's a simplified infrastructure that mimics your public cloud implementations. Mimics the same technologies and uses the same technologies as your largest service providers, from Amazon to Google to even some of the consumer-grade cloud implementations from Facebook and Twitter. And the benefits that you get out of that is ease of use, ease of management, ease of deployment, a simplified operational overhead. Typically, in most of my customers, what we've seen is about a 50% reduction in OpEx. And that makes sense when you compare it to your classical three-tier architecture, where you see it's a complicated infrastructure, it's a complicated architecture, lots of lines to be able to support, and lots of finger pointing in between different vendors saying it's not their fault. This type of infrastructure makes it easy. It makes it easy to support. You basically have one person to call, and that's Nutanix.